Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to Fallout New Vegas, where today we're going to be taking a look at the hunting shotgun and its modded version and its unique version, because this one has been requested quite a lot. I think this is the most requested shotgun out of any of them, which I totally understand because this is my favorite shotgun in Fallout New Vegas, just overall too. So this is a pump action shotgun that's based off of the Remington 870, I believe. It's either that or it's a Mossberg 500 or an Ithaca 37, something like that. One of the more common patterns of pump action shotgun, which it's really cool to see in a Fallout game. Sadly, there's not a whole lot of pump action guns in the Fallout game, or at least pump action shotguns. There's one in New Vegas, there's one in Tactics, and I think that there's one in 76, which I haven't played. So there's like 3 pump action shotguns in all of the various Fallout games, which is strange. For the base stats of the hunting shotgun, this one requires 75 guns and 5 strength to wield, so the guns are pretty high. The strength isn't bad though. Basically any character is going to be able to wield that, because I feel like most characters are going to go for around 5 strength at the minimum. So this shouldn't be that bad. You are going to have to buff up your guns, but you're probably not going to be finding a hunting shotgun too early on. There are a couple places where hunting shotguns do spawn. There's one, I believe, in a Night Stalker cave that you can get. That one's probably the more dangerous one to get. There's one in the back of a truck up north above New Vegas that you can grab, and that one is guarded sort of by raiders, but you can sneak around and grab it. And there is also one way down south at the nuclear test site that's inside the shack, so you're going to have to get through the ghouls to get to that one. But all of those shotguns you can get fairly early on, and they're always spawning there, so that's pretty nice. The hunting shotgun does 70 damage per shot. This is 10 damage per pellet, firing out 7 pellets. This one has 117 damage per second, so high damage and pretty high damage per second. This has 10 crit damage. Crit damage is a little bit weird because crit damage counts for every single pellet, so if you hit a crit, you can hit multiple crits. This has been changed from like Fallout 3's version of it, because Fallout 3's version was broken where you could just do crazy damage with shotguns, and shotguns were just really overpowered in Fallout 3. This has a 1x crit chance, which is fine. I think all the shotguns do. I don't think any shotgun really has an increased chance to hit crits anyway. This one costs 28 action points to fire in VATS, which is fine. That's about the same as most rifles, so it's going to be pretty comparable. This one has a pretty tight spread at 1.5. That is one of the tightest spreads out of any of the shotguns. This can actually have the tightest spread if you get the choke attachment to it, to where it goes down to 0.9. We'll talk about that in a second when we go over the modded version of this. The magazine for this is 5 by base, although that can also be increased thanks to mods. 5 shots in the shotgun is usually plenty enough. However, you do have to reload each shell one at a time, and the reload animation can be a little bit janky with this one. It's the same thing with like the grenade launcher or any gun that needs to load one round in at a time, where sometimes it'll cancel itself. And it's also a little bit bugged with the rapid reload perk, because it can reload pretty fast, but it still has to like technically go through the full reload animation before you can actually pump it and fire it. But you can stop the animation whenever you'd like, so that you can get back to firing if you only need to load in 1 or 2 shells. This one weighs 7.5 weight, so it's a little bit hefty, but not too bad to carry around. And this one has 200 item health, which is plenty for a weapon like this. It's very similar to like the hunting rifle, where you don't really care about the health that much, because even though you can spam fire the hunting shotgun pretty fast, you only have the 5 shots, or with the mod 8 shots before you have to reload, so you're likely not going to be going through rounds super fast. And with the hunting shotgun hitting so hard, you may not even need to go through that many bullets against most things, or that many shells against most things. This one also fires the 12 gauge, which is actually our very first 12 gauge shotgun that we've talked about, so there's a lot of ammo for the 12 gauge. We'll go over that in a second too. For the pros of the hunting shotgun, this one does do really high damage and really high damage per second, although the damage per second is a little bit slower if you have to fight off multiple enemies, just because you are limited by the amount of shells you actually have in the shotgun and the somewhat slow reload of it. It does have a great ammo type. The 12 gauge is probably the most flexible ammunition type in the entire game. It has the most variants out of anything in the game. So you can kind of load this with whatever and be able to deal with just about anything. It also has great spread. It's the most accurate shotgun in the game, or one of the most accurate. It is the most accurate if you put the choke on it, so that is really cool. You don't have to worry about your shot going really wide or anything, which makes it even easier to use this at very long range. And if you want to load this with slugs, which increases your accuracy even further, you can basically just be using this the same way as you would a rifle. For the cons, there is only one real con besides, I guess, kind of the slow reload speed, and that is that hunting shotguns are rather rare. So besides the ones that I listed of where you can find them, they usually don't start appearing anytime soon in the game. Most NPCs don't have hunting shotguns for some odd reason either. You usually have to buy these if you would like them. So repairing them can be kind of a pain unless you get jury rigging, which you probably will be able to by the time you're getting to these hunting shotguns, in which case it's not hard to fix them up because they get fixed up with any of the bolt action, lever action, or pump action weapons. So you can fix these up with like single shot shotguns or varmint rifles, and you're good to go, and that is a huge plus to these weapons. So I guess let's go over all of the different ammos that the 12 gauge has now, because there is a lot of them. So the 12 gauge has regular 12 gauge ammo. This one is the most straightforward. It just gives you the standard damage, nothing crazy about it. It's going to be probably the most common shotgun shell that you're going to find. However, we have all the other ones to go over too. You can load beanbags into this, which beanbags only do 5% of your total damage with the weapon, so they don't do very much, but they do 250 fatigue damage per hit, and if you fully fatigue an enemy, you can knock them down onto the ground and then they can't get back up. This is the most effective way to knock down enemies if you want to do like a pacifist run. I guess you're kind of being a pacifist by not killing things. And these can be kind of useful against certain types of enemies where you can just knock them unconscious and then switch over to a different type of shotgun shell that you would like to hit them with. They're super fun, but you do have to buy these, you can't make them, and they're kind of rare, so that's kind of a bummer. This has slugs. Slugs make it so all of your damage is concentrated into one projectile, so it's better against armor, and it's far more accurate, so you can use this basically as a rifle, which is really cool. There's pulse slugs, which nerf your damage by 30%, but they also make it so your spread is tighter and you do more damage towards power armor and robots, so they can be really good if you want to take it to any area where there's turrets or robots throughout, so it's pretty good in like old world blues. There's the quadruple-aught buckshot, which is just the same as your standard shotgun shell, or the same as your 12 gauge, but this makes it so you have just 4 pellets rather than the 7 pellets that you normally have, so more damage concentrated on less pellets, which can be a pro and a con depending on how you like to play the shotgun. It's going to make it so you have an overall kind of tighter spread and more damage towards armored enemies, but it might make it so you're less likely to hit certain enemies if you want to hit multiple of them. There's also the Magnum shot, which the Magnum shot gives you 30% more damage, breaks through 2 armor, but breaks your weapon 15% faster. That one's really cool to have. There's also the quadruple-aught buckshot Magnum rounds, which do the same, but they concentrate your pellets just into 4 pellets rather than 7. There is also Dragon's Breath rounds, which nerf your damage by 10%, but you get fire damage on each of your shots, so it can be good against certain enemy types. There's also the Flechette rounds, which make it so you fire out basically needles from your gun, or darts from your gun, that do 10% less damage overall, but punch through 6 armor. And there is also the coin shot, which is basically the same as the Magnum, just this one has a unique sound effect, and you make it from Caesar's Legion coins. This one can be pretty cool too. It can punch through more armor and deal more damage, and I just really love the sound effect from it. And I think that's all of the 12 gauge rounds. So there is a lot to choose from, and you can mix and match whatever you would like. And like I said, you kind of have a shell for just about any sort of job. If you're fighting bugs, you can load in Dragon's Breath. If you're fighting armored enemies, you can load in Flechette rounds. If you're just generally fighting anything, the Magnum or the Buckshot Magnum can do even more. If you want to be using this like a rifle, load in the slugs. If you're fighting robots, load in the pulse slugs. If you want to go with a non-lethal run, load in the beanbags. There is a lot of different shells for the 12 gauge, and that is pretty cool. For an overall rating with the hunting shotgun, I would put this up into A tier. I think it's all around a very solid weapon that kind of does everything really well. It does everything that you would want a shotgun to do with very little downside besides it being kind of rare and the somewhat slow reload, but even then it's not that bad. We do have to talk about the modded version though, which has 2 mods to it. You can get a choke, which reduces your spread. You go from 1.5 spread, which is already really tight for the shotgun, to 0.9 spread, so it is the tightest out of any of the shotguns, which is really good. Makes it so you can hit things even further away, and again, if you load in slugs, you're basically just shooting this as a rifle, so if you want to go with a full shotgun build, this is going to be fantastic for your long-range engagements. And then you also get an extended tube, which increases your magazine size. So instead of holding 5 shots, now you hold 8 shots. And that really actually makes a difference. This one is really, really nice to have on the hunting shotgun, just so you don't have to usually reload during the middle of a fight. A lot of the time, 8 shots is enough to take out just about anything, and that's fantastic. Sometimes 5 shots isn't quite enough, but 8 shots tends to be a really nice spot for the 12 gauge to just be hitting just about anything. For an overall rating for the modded version, I would put this one up into S tier. I think this one's actually really good. It's the most accurate shotgun in the game. It holds enough shots, it does high damage, it works really well, just at everything. So it's fantastic, and I really like that version of it. There is also the unique version of the shotgun, which is called the Dinner Bell. The Dinner Bell is probably one of the most difficult to obtain unique weapons in the game, because it does require you to do a very long quest to get it, and the quest can be fairly difficult too. So you have to do Bleed Me Dry, This is a quest that you get from the Thorn. You have to talk to Red Lucy and then she will give it to you. And this is actually a series of quests that you have to complete one after another, where you have to get different eggs from different animals so that the Thorn can hunt them. And once you complete all of these, then you're rewarded with the dinner bell. And there is actually a lot of different enemies that you have to fight throughout this, because you have to go and get like giant mantis eggs, giant rad scorpion eggs. You have to go and get deathclaw eggs at one point, fire geckos. There's just a lot of scary things. Oh, Cazadors. Cazadors is another one that you have to go and get. So you have to fight through all of these things, and then you get the unique hunting shotgun, which does look a little bit different. It's got a camo paint to it, which is pretty cool. And this one already has the choke installed on it. However, its spread is actually not as good as the regular hunting shotgun if you have the choke on it, but it's better than the standard hunting shotgun. So this one requires 75 guns and 5 strength to wield as well. This one deals a little bit more damage at 75 damage per shot. This one does 125 damage per second, has 11 crit damage, so one more than the regular one, a 1x crit modifier, 28 action point cost, which is fine, a 1.2 spread, so again, better than the non-modded hunting shotgun, worse than the modded hunting shotgun, holds 5 rounds in it, weighs 7.5 weight, and interestingly enough, it actually has less item health than the standard hunting shotgun. I'm not entirely sure why that is, because most of the time unique weapons actually have more. This one has 150. That's still not low by any means, especially since you're not going to be using this super frequently, and by the time you get it, you're probably going to be high leveled, because getting the dinner bell does take quite a bit of time investment to actually get, and you're going to probably have to kill a lot of enemies to get it. This one is really cool. It's one of my favorite shotguns in the game. I really like the design of it. It's pretty strong all the way around. It is better than a regular hunting shotgun, maybe not as strong as the modded version. I actually like the modded version a little bit more, and I tend to use that one a little bit more often. But the dinner bell still looks really cool and still functions really well too. So I would also put this one up into S tier. Whether you want to rank it higher or lower than the modded shotgun is really personal preference. The dinner bell will get you a little bit more damage and damage per second, but the other one has more sustained fire, assuming you have the tube attached to it, and it's more accurate. Not a massive amount more accurate, but more accurate. Oh, we should also talk about 2 perks that go along with shotguns really well too. That would be Shotgun Surgeon, which just makes it so you basically have armor-piercing rounds on any of your shotgun shells, which really makes so if you want to load flechettes into this, they are very scary, because then they just ignore basically any armor that's not really heavy armor, or things like rad scorpions, but you can completely ignore like Deathclaw's armor. You can ignore most medium armors, basically all light armors, and a lot of heavy armors too, so that one's just a fantastic perk to have for shotguns. The other one is And Stay Back. This makes it so you can knock down enemies, or each pellet has a chance of knocking down enemies. And that's just really strong, especially with a shotgun like this where you can just continually fire at them and do really high damage. If something is knocked down, it can't fight back, and that's pretty much a death sentence when you have a shotgun, especially when it can fire really fast. So yeah, both those perks are really good, and I would recommend them for a shotgun build. So in conclusion, should you use the hunting shotgun? Yeah, absolutely. The hunting shotgun is awesome. It's one of my favorite guns in the entire game. It is really cool looking. It functions really well. It feels really good. The only kind of problem I have with it is sometimes the janky reload. But as long as you can get past that, then it's perfect. So tell me your thoughts on the hunting shotgun and the dinner bell down in the comments below. Also the modded hunting shotgun, I guess, as well. Tell me what weapon you'd like to see in future videos, because we're going to be going through all of them in New Vegas, and this has been a super fun series. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.